I used to think that I was taking good care of my health simply by drinking plenty of water every day. But then I had to reconsider when I realized that how I was drinking water was actually the real concern. It not only made me feel more tired, but could also cause muscle loss, drain my energy, and even affect my heart. I know this is not just speculation, because recent studies from the Mayo Clinic and the National Institute on Aging have shown that many elderly people, myself included, are drinking water the wrong way, and this unintentionally puts daily stress on the body. I have witnessed this clearly. Older friends around me, in their 70s or 80s, often felt sluggish and mentally foggy, yet they gradually recovered simply by making a small change in their water drinking habits. So what is really happening with hydration after the age of 70? I want to share with you something I wish I had known earlier, something doctors also hope every elderly person understands clearly, that even a small mistake in how you drink water can silently accelerate the aging process. Have you noticed that you no longer feel thirsty as clearly as before? I have. Before, after walking or eating, I would often feel a dry throat and need to drink water. But now, my body almost never signals thirst anymore. There are days when I forget to drink water for many hours. And even when I do remember and drink, I still don't feel alert or gain any extra energy. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know that you are not alone, and more importantly, it's not your fault. After age 70, our bodies begin to change in ways that many people, even doctors, often don't talk about. A 2023 research review by the U.S. National Institutes of Health showed that as the brain ages, it becomes less sensitive to thirst signals. This means many elderly people are chronically dehydrated without realizing it. But what worries me even more is that even when I drink enough water, if I don't do it correctly, my health can still be seriously affected. Let me explain further. As we age, our kidneys no longer retain water as efficiently as before. Cell membranes weaken, making it harder for water to enter and nourish cells. And the heart and blood vessels become sensitive to fluid overload. This means if I drink too much water at once, what seems like a good thing can actually make my heart work harder. I used to think that drinking a full glass of water in one go was good, but now I understand that after age 70, how you hydrate is just as important as how much water you drink. And just a small change in this habit can make a big difference in health and quality of life every day. A friend of mine, Mrs. Marjorie, 74 years old, came for a checkup because she frequently experienced dizziness, fatigue, and irregular heartbeats, especially after her morning hydration routine, when she would drink 2 full glasses of water right after waking up. She thought she was doing the right thing, but what she didn't realize was that the heart of an elderly person is more sensitive to sudden changes in blood volume, and drinking too quickly can cause temporary high blood pressure or lead to a dangerous condition called hyponatremia, where the sodium level in the blood becomes overly diluted. When she adjusted her drinking habits, taking small sips regularly throughout the day, especially before meals and after light exercise, her symptoms improved significantly. She regained energy, better concentration, and smoother digestion. A 2022 study from the Journal of Gerontology showed that older adults who drink water in small sips consistently throughout the day have a 30% lower risk of falls, cognitive scores improve by up to 25%, and their mood stabilizes much more compared to those who drink the same amount of water but all at once. I used to think I wasn't drinking enough water daily, so I always tried to drink a lot. But it turns out the problem wasn't how little or much I drank, but that my way of drinking water no longer suited a body changed by age. The first mistake I made was drinking too much water at once. In the past, I always tried to follow the advice, drink 8 glasses of water a day, by downing a large glass whenever I remembered. When I was younger, that was probably fine. But now, past 70, I realize my heart and kidneys don't handle it as well. Every time I finish a large glass at once, I feel uncomfortable. My heart races, my breathing gets short, and sometimes when I stand up, I feel dizzy. After researching, I learned my body was reacting to the rapid fluid shifts in my blood. One study even showed that elderly people drinking over 300 ml at once may experience sudden drops in blood pressure upon standing, which is dangerous because it easily leads to falls. Now I've changed. I only drink a few sips at a time, about 90 to 120 ml, spaced evenly throughout the day. This way, I feel much lighter and more stable. The second mistake was drinking water too close to bedtime. Before, I used to drink an extra glass before going to bed, thinking it would keep me hydrated all night. But the result was waking up multiple times to use the bathroom, disrupted sleep, and a few near falls at night. My doctor advised me to stop drinking water at least 1.5 to 2 hours before bedtime, and instead drink steadily during the day, especially before dinner. Since following this advice, my sleep has become deeper and better, and I wake up feeling much more refreshed. The third mistake seems to be the most common. I used to believe, if I'm not thirsty, I don't need to drink. But I didn't know that after 70, the feeling of thirst becomes unreliable. I could be dehydrated without realizing it. Even mild dehydration, only 1–2%, is enough to make me feel tired, have trouble concentrating, and be prone to cramps. I recall a story I once read about an elderly man named James, also in his late 70s like me. He rarely felt thirsty but often felt sluggish, had muscle pain, and memory lapses. When he changed his habit to sip water regularly throughout the day, his health noticeably improved within weeks. I followed his example and noticed the same for myself. In truth, at a certain age, the body no longer follows the old rules. If we keep outdated habits, we unintentionally let our health decline without realizing it. For me, just a small change in how I drink water made my body respond much better. I share my story because I believe many others might also reconsider and adjust to live healthier every day. I used to wonder why I no longer felt thirsty like before. In the past, after every walk or meal, I would quickly reach for a glass of water. But recently, that feeling of thirst quietly disappeared. Some days, I could sit for hours without taking a single sip. And strangely enough, even when I did drink water, I didn't feel more alert or energized like I used to. If you've experienced something similar, believe me, you are not alone. And more importantly, it's not our fault. After the age of 70, the body begins to change in ways I never imagined and few people talk about. I read in a recent report from the U.S. National Institutes of Health that as we age, the brain gradually becomes less sensitive to thirst signals. This significantly increases the risk of prolonged dehydration, often without us realizing it. But what really surprised me was that even when I drank enough water daily, the way I drank it could actually be harming my health. Let me explain further. As we enter old age, silent changes occur in the body. The kidneys no longer retain water as effectively as before. Cell membranes weaken, making it harder to deliver water to nourish the cells. And the heart and blood vessels become more sensitive to the amount of water intake, especially when we drink large amounts at once. Therefore, gulping down a full glass of water in the morning, or concentrating water intake into just 1 or 2 times a day, seemingly helping the body, actually forces it to struggle. Since understanding this, I've changed my water drinking habits. I divide the water into small amounts, sipping gently throughout the day. And miraculously, my body has responded much more positively. I have experienced sudden leg cramps, unexpected fatigue after walking, and found myself clumsy whenever I stood up from a chair. At first, I thought it was because I was overexerting myself or simply due to aging. But then I discovered a surprisingly simple cause. I wasn't drinking enough water. It turns out that muscles don't just need protein to stay strong. They need water to maintain flexibility, endurance, and the ability to recover. This made me realize that if I truly want to maintain my health in old age, drinking enough water every day is no longer an optional choice, it's a necessity. There were times when I forgot my keys, missed appointments, or stood in the middle of a room not remembering what I intended to do. I used to think these were just signs of old age. But then I began to wonder, what if those frustrating moments, often called brain fog, are actually worsened by something as simple as how much water I drink each day? I read that one of the least talked about causes of cognitive decline in older adults is prolonged dehydration, even at mild levels. And if we look at it scientifically, the human brain is made up of nearly 75% water. Every memory I recall, every word I speak, they are all results of electrical signals running through brain cells. And to do that, the brain needs water. When I don't drink enough water, I notice my mind slowing down noticeably. Blood flow to the brain decreases, and the neurons function less efficiently. Feelings of confusion, slower reactions, and even less clarity gradually appear. I still remember a 2021 study published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience, showing that just a 1.5% dehydration can cause older adults to react 14% slower, reduce short-term memory by 18%, and increased feelings of confusion and anxiety significantly, not due to underlying disease, but simply because of dehydration. Now, I consider drinking enough water every day as an essential part of my self-care journey. And I share this hoping that you too will begin to pay more attention to this small habit whose impact is far from small. I used to think that just eating healthy, getting enough protein, and exercising regularly were enough to maintain muscle as I age. I drank protein shakes, walked every day, and used resistance bands for light workouts. But then I discovered something that few people pay attention to: the habit of drinking water, or more precisely, the lack of it, can quietly weaken my muscles despite all my efforts. I read a study published in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2022, and it really made me rethink things. Scientists showed that even mild dehydration in older adults is associated with up to 13% lower muscle mass compared to those who are well hydrated. That's not a small number, especially for people like me over 70 years old, still trying to maintain balance, walk steadily, and stay independent in daily life. I realized that muscles are actually made up of nearly 76% water. Water plays a vital role in transporting nutrients to muscle cells and helps remove waste products generated during physical activity. When there is even slight dehydration, muscles become fatigued, prone to cramping, slow to recover, and the body may even pull water from muscles to supply other vital organs, meaning my muscles themselves are being eroded. I'll never forget the story of Harold, a 78-year-old retired Marine I once met. He came in with a disappointed look and said he had done everything right. Enough protein, regular exercise, yet still felt his body weakening. After a simple test, we found he was chronically dehydrated. Not dangerously so, but enough to prevent his muscles from functioning effectively. We started by adding about 180 ml of water to each meal and 120 ml after every exercise session. After just 2 months of consistent practice, his grip strength improved noticeably, and what made him happiest was that his knees no longer gave out when climbing stairs. Harold's case is not unique. Another study from the University of North Carolina showed that adequate hydration can increase muscle protein synthesis by up to 18% in older adults. This means that when I drink enough water, my body absorbs nutrients from food better and responds more positively to exercise and therapy. From then on, I understood that drinking water properly isn't just about staying alert or aiding digestion. It's the foundation that helps me maintain muscle, strength, and independence, the most precious things at this age. I realized that the most important thing is not forcing myself to follow old habits or the 8 glasses of water a day rule, but truly listening to my body. After turning 30, I felt my body entering a new phase, older, more subtle, and communicating messages in a different language. When I learned how to listen and understand it, many things changed. Before, I thought dehydration only showed through obvious signs like chapped lips, dry skin, or intense thirst. But later, I found out that in older adults, dehydration can be much more silent and subtle, sometimes causing serious consequences. I want to emphasize that if you only drink water when you really feel thirsty, you may have already lost about 2–3% of your body's water, enough to affect memory, coordination, and even heart function. So how do I know when my body is signaling for help? Here are some signs I experienced, and at first I didn't think they were related to dehydration. Sudden fatigue, unexplained energy drop. Sometimes I'd feel out of breath just walking through a room or not want to stand up after sitting down in the afternoon. I thought it was just age. But after researching, I learned that even mild dehydration reduces blood flow and oxygen supply to muscles, making everything much harder. A 2020 study showed that older adults who were dehydrated for just 1 day walked 11% slower and had significantly reduced endurance. I realized this described me perfectly. Mood changes, irritability, or restlessness. At first, I didn't think lack of water affected emotions. But it turns out when the brain isn't adequately hydrated, cortisol, the stress hormone, increases, while dopamine, the chemical that creates feelings of happiness, decreases. As a result, I felt restless, uncomfortable, and sometimes didn't even understand why I was sad. A 2022 study showed that just increasing water intake reduced anxiety symptoms in older adults by 27% after 2 weeks, without medication. I tried it and really noticed a clear improvement in my mood. Dizziness upon standing up. Many times I felt lightheaded when getting out of bed or rising from a chair. At first, I thought it was normal, But then I understood it was a sign of orthostatic hypotension, which worsens with dehydration. When fluids are low, blood volume drops, making it hard for the heart to maintain blood pressure during position changes. I was shocked to learn this is the main cause of falls in older adults, and falls are the leading cause of fatal injuries in people over 70. Besides these, I also experienced foggy thinking, forgetfulness, sometimes jokingly called senior moments. But dehydration directly affects the brain's signaling ability and waste removal. The good news is that by drinking enough water consistently for about 72 hours, my mind became noticeably clearer. I genuinely felt my memory improve and my thinking speed up. What surprised me most was that dry mouth is not the first sign. I used to think dry mouth meant I needed water, but actually, by then my body had been dehydrated for hours. For older adults like me, saliva production decreases with age and medications, so we can't rely on mouth dryness alone. I learned to monitor urine color. Pale yellow means okay, but dark color means I need to hydrate immediately. And if urine is completely clear all day, I must be cautious too. It could signal electrolyte imbalance from drinking too much water. I used to ignore these signs, thinking they were just annoyances of aging. But in reality, they were gentle warnings that my body was out of balance. Ignoring them could lead to serious consequences: urinary tract infections, kidney function decline, falls, mental disorders, even hospitalization due to fainting or heat exhaustion. Now, I know how to listen to my body and act promptly before things get out of control. I want to share with you the story of Eleanor, an 82-year-old retired librarian who used to be very proud of her quick wit and sharp memory. But over the past year, Eleanor began to feel that something unusual was happening to her. She told me, "I used to solve crossword puzzles very quickly, but now I find myself forgetting what I was going to say in the middle of a sentence." Her family grew worried and took her for a medical checkup. The doctors ruled out serious causes such as Alzheimer's, dementia, or severe nutritional deficiencies. But one thing was clear: Eleanor was almost never drinking enough water. She told me, "I don't feel thirsty," a phrase I have heard from many other older adults. We started with a simple, gentle water drinking routine. Before each meal, she drank 120 ml of water. After every walk, another 120 ml. And early every morning at dawn, she drank a glass of warm water with lemon. Within just 3 weeks, her family noticed a clear change. Eleanor was more alert, her thinking more coherent, and most notably, she returned to her former crossword solving skills. But the wonderful change was not only in her memory, her emotions also improved significantly. I researched and learned that when the brain is adequately hydrated, it regulates emotions better. Dehydration increases cortisol, the stress hormone, while reducing dopamine and serotonin, two neurotransmitters that help us feel calm, focused, and emotionally stable. A 2020 study published in the American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry showed that older adults who drank enough water had a 36% lower rate of depressive symptoms compared to those with mild dehydration. And this is not magic or luck, but purely the chemistry of the body. Water helps the brain eliminate waste proteins that impair cognition, while maintaining balance in mood and emotions. Through Eleanor's story, I am even more convinced that listening to our body and caring for it properly, starting with small things like drinking enough water, can make a huge difference in life. I want to share with you a few things I recently read about how to drink water and other beverages properly, especially as we get older. According to a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, sugary drinks actually pull water into the intestines when consumed, temporarily reducing the amount of water available to other parts of the body. Therefore, instead of drinking a lot of sugary soft drinks, I find it better if you try a few slices of fresh fruit along with a glass of plain water. This method not only provides sufficient hydration but also adds fiber and nutrients, while avoiding sudden energy crashes after drinking. Many people think that sugar-free drinks are harmless, but that's not really the case. Some diet drinks contain artificial sweeteners like aspartame or sucralose, which I've heard can cause an imbalance in gut microbiota, headaches, and even increase cravings, especially in older adults. Sodas containing caffeine act as diuretics, causing dehydration rather than absorption. I usually choose naturally sparkling mineral water or unsweetened iced herbal tear freshing without worrying about side effects. Regarding coffee, I also pay attention to the timing. Drinking coffee after 2 p.m. can easily cause insomnia and reduce mental alertness in the evening. I usually prefer to drink coffee after lunch or during sports activities so I can enjoy it without affecting my sleep. As for sports drinks, I know they help replenish electrolytes, especially in hot weather or after intense exercise. But I am very cautious because many commercial versions contain too much sugar, preservatives, and artificial coloring. Some bottles even have up to 34 grams of sugar, more than a can of soda. I prefer low-sugar electrolyte powders containing sodium, potassium, and magnesium to mix with water. Or I make my own at home by mixing a pinch of sea salt, a few drops of lemon juice, and a bit of honey, with 240 ml of water, simple and healthy. As I get older, I notice my body processes alcohol much more slowly. A glass of wine in the evening can interrupt my sleep and also act as a diuretic, leading to fatigue or confusion the next morning. Alcohol also reduces the natural feeling of thirst, increasing the risk of dehydration. Instead of alcohol, I usually choose mild herbal teas like chamomile or a magnesium supplement drink recommended by my doctor to help me sleep better. I also understand that many older people struggle between drinking enough water and having to get up multiple times at night to use the bathroom. But I think it's important to understand how the body works during sleep. From about 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., the body switches into self-healing mode. The brain removes toxins through the lymphatic system, cells regenerate, and hydration is restored. The kidneys produce less urine if you don't drink too much water late in the evening. I realize the key is to drink enough water before going to bed, not during sleep. Many people have the habit of drinking a large glass of water right before bedtime. But for older adults like me, this often backfires by interrupting sleep due to frequent bathroom trips. The trick I apply is that the golden time to drink water is between 6:30 and 8 p.m. This is the ideal window to gently replenish fluids without overloading the bladder through the night. Here's how I do it. At 6:30 p.m., I sip 120 to 180 ml of room temperature water with dinner, which helps digestion and starts hydrating the body. Then, around 7:45 p.m., I drink an additional 90 to 120 milliliters of warm water or lightly brewed herbal tea such as chamomile, mint, or lemon thyme to relax the body and absorb well without stimulating diuretic effects. I also strictly avoid caffeine after 2 p.m., avoid sugary or carbonated drinks after 6 p.m., and don't drink much water after 8 p.m. to maintain uninterrupted sleep. I hope these sharing help you take better care of your body, especially as we increasingly need to pay more delicate attention to our health. I've realized that not all liquids are the same, and this is especially important for older adults like us. In fact, there are some common drinks in many households that I and many other older people often consume, but they do more harm than good. They can disrupt sleep, raise blood sugar levels, overstimulate the kidneys, or cause silent dehydration without us even realizing it. Therefore, I want to share with you 5 types of beverages that, in my opinion, older adults should carefully consider, along with better alternatives. First is fruit juice. I used to think that 100% natural orange or apple juice in the morning was good, but after researching, I found out that fruit juice is actually liquid sugar. Especially, even if it's 100% natural juice, it contains no fiber to slow down sugar absorption. This can cause our blood sugar to spike quickly and then crash suddenly, which is very dangerous if you or I have diabetes or prediabetes. Moreover, fruit juice does not provide sufficient hydration for the body. A 2020 study also confirmed this, which made me reconsider my morning juice drinking habit. With this information, I have changed my drinking habits and now choose to drink plain water or eat fresh fruit instead of just fruit juice, to ensure adequate hydration while avoiding sudden blood sugar spikes. I also encourage you to try it and feel the difference for your health. I have realized that our bodies continuously lose water through breathing, skin, and metabolism, even when we are not sweating. But what's interesting is that I tried and found a very simple way to slow down this water loss during sleep, which is by using a humidifier. From the studies I've read and my own observations, when older adults sleep with room humidity maintained at 40–50%, they wake up less often at night, experience significantly less dry mouth, and have much better oxygen absorption during deep REM sleep. This is a passive way to support hydration without having to do anything complicated. Additionally, I apply a small trick of elevating my feet slightly while sleeping. This helps improve blood circulation, prevents fluid buildup in the lower legs, and reduces pressure on the bladder and kidneys. This is really effective, and I recommend you try it. I often ask my older patients this question: if your body could speak clearly, what would it say after just 1 week of being properly hydrated? And I am always surprised when many respond that the changes happen much faster than they expected, not after months or years, but within just 7 days. Let me share with you what I and my patients have experienced day by day when we start drinking water regularly and appropriately for our age. On the first and second days, the body begins to trust you again as you maintain your hydration routine, especially in the morning. At this time, the body starts to replenish the water lost overnight, improves blood circulation, and reduces pressure on the kidneys. Digestion feels more comfortable. You may feel less bloated, urinate regularly, and have a better appetite, especially if you had not realized you were dehydrated before. By the third and fourth days, I and many others notice the brain fog starting to clear. That's when things get interesting because the water has been absorbed into the brain. Many older adults tell me they are less prone to startle reflex, being easily startled, recall names more easily, even finish crossword puzzles they had abandoned before, and feel calmer during the day. This is because the electrical communication between brain cells improves, along with a reduction in the stress hormone cortisol. A friend of mine, Leonard, 76 years old, once shared, "I didn't know how foggy I was until I felt clear-headed again." On the 5th and 6th days, strength and balance in the body noticeably improve. Muscles absorb water more efficiently. I feel less tired when walking, experience fewer nighttime cramps, and standing up or climbing stairs becomes easier. Muscle cells that are well hydrated recover faster, contract more effectively, and reduce the risk of injury. Especially, the joints become more flexible thanks to better lubrication. Many older adults I meet tell me, "I'm moving like I used to." By the 7th day, my sleep deepens and energy clearly returns. The body's internal biological clock starts resetting thanks to proper hydration before sleep, fewer awakenings to urinate, and less dehydration overnight. I can sleep more deeply and longer than I have in many months, waking up feeling refreshed, with stable mood and clearer mind. Blood sugar stabilizes, mood fluctuations lessen, and the skin appears brighter. The most important thing I feel is that when the body knows it is properly cared for, it begins to release its stress response. I no longer feel like I have to constantly push through difficulties, but instead feel my body working with me, not against me. This is not a miracle or some fancy medicine, but simply giving my body what it needs and always desires. It only takes 7 days to start feeling that difference. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps us keep creating valuable content for you. Feel free to leave a comment below to share your thoughts, questions, or topics you'd like us to cover in the next video. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our latest health tips and useful information. Stay healthy, and see you in the next video.